whenever you're ready. Let's go ahead and dive back in and we'll know with the flow. You got this.
Okay. Welcome to Women Over 40 Losing Weight. I'm Dr. Keisha Pickford, nurse practitioner and holistic nutrition weight loss coach. And this podcast is for women in their 40s, 50s, and beyond who are tired of dieting and tired of starting over and ready for a more sustainable approach to weight loss that actually works with their bodies, and if that sounds like you, you're in the right place.
Absolutely. And Happy New Year, everyone. We're just a few days into January, and a lot of folks are gearing up to start in come Monday. So if you're feeling that mix of hope and maybe a bit of hesitation, you're definitely not alone. Today, we're going to dive into why those fad diets often fall short for women over 40 and how a more sustainable approach, like the Fresh Start method, can make all the difference. Let's get started.
Yes, this could be a good topic for the start of a new year, the January start. So let's start with why do women over 40 feel like they're starting over with weight loss in January? Because January feels like a clean slate. And women often go back to what they're always using or what they've always been told or what they know works, back to the restriction, the rules, the cutting things out. But after 40, our bodies are a little bit different. Hormones shift, muscle mass declines, stress levels are higher, and recovery, it looks a little bit different. We can't bounce back like we used to. So women aren't starting over because they failed. They're starting over because the strategies they're using, they were never designed for bodies at this age and stage of life.
Exactly. And that's such an important point to highlight as we head into a new year. It's not about women not trying hard enough. It's about the fact that these one-size-fits-all diets just don't fit the realities of a body in its 40s and beyond. And that's exactly why we're talking about a more sustainable approach today, one that really works with those changes rather than against them. So let's dive into how we can do that with the Fresh Start method and give you a real plan for the new year.
Yes, we can talk about the fresh start method here, but I want to first, because it's the new year, there are some common diets and some fad diets that a lot of people start to jump into or get, their year started. So let's go back to that first and talk about those common diets that a lot of women may try come Monday, this January start.
Absolutely, let's do that. It's a perfect time to break down some of those popular fad diets that everyone seems to turn to right at the start of the year. We can give a little context about each one and then talk about how the Fresh Start approach offers a more sustainable alternative. So let's get into those common January diets and why they might not be the best long-term fix.
Yeah. There are a few that I see you commonly working with quite a few people with weight loss and just coming through the emergency room where I work, I hear, ladies often talk about these few that we're going to go over. And I guess the first one I want to talk about is keto or low carb. I hear that all the time, even with my colleagues. Everybody's on a keto diet. And when we reference or refer to keto and low carb diets, and that's when, you drastically reduce your carbohydrates to push your body into a burning fat stage and, burning that fat for fuel. And some women see, quick scale changes. I even did this one myself. It's been a few years ago, but when I first, one of my journeys on weight loss, I did the keto. I learned about it, talking with a colleague, and then I went on it, just off of, what we sat down at the desk in between patients, taking care of patients. We were talking about how, the process went. And I ended up putting that into my lifestyle, and I ended up quickly lost 50 pounds. I know it was, within a 3 month period. And it worked really well and, in combination with my exercise routine as well. But, these plans are difficult. It was very, very hard for me to sustain this. I had to concentrate, I had to work, I had to neglect, buying a lot of foods for my home, that, my other family members, enjoyed so that I could stay on track. So it was very difficult to maintain and to sustain it. And I got fatigued on the routine. My cravings, they increased because, I really didn't have that food noise quiet like I wanted. And then I lost a lot of muscle too. Some of my weight loss may have been muscle. I wasn't as strong or had much strength that I thought I would have had.
Absolutely, and that's such a real experience that so many women have with something like keto. It can definitely lead to quick revolt on the scale, but like you said, it's tough to maintain. It doesn't always fit into real life, especially when you got a family or other things going on. And that's really where the fresh start approach comes in. Instead of focusing on those big restrictions and cutting out entire food groups, it's about creating something sustainable that you can actually live with. So let's dive into that and talk about how we can reframe these ideas with the fresh start method.
Okay. I do want to talk about the others that I see commonly. Let me just run through a few more that people may start on for the month and just, before we give them an alternative way to look at things.
Absolutely, let's do that. We can definitely run through a few more of those common diets that tend to pop up this time of year. So whether it's something like intermittent fasting, carnivore, detoxes, or those really low calorie cleanses, we'll break down what they're about and why they might not be the best fit for women over 40. And then we'll tie it all back to how the fresh start approach can offer more balance and sustainable path forward.
Yes. So let's talk about the carnivore right quickly. The carnivore diet, it eliminates plant foods entirely and it focuses almost exclusively on our animal products or protein products. While your appetite, it does get better, and it may drop for short terms, but what we find in this particular type diet is that the lack of fiber and the variety can impact how your gut health and your digestion may do long term. And it's one of those diets too that I find even some of my male colleagues do a lot of this, that, long term, they're just not able to sustain it.
Exactly. And that's a great example. The carnivore diet can feel really appealing because it's so straightforward, just animal products and no plants. But like you said, that lack of fiber and variety can really mess with gut health over time, and it's not something most people can keep up with forever. So it's another one of those things that might give short-term results, but isn't really a long-term solution. And that's where the fresh start approach comes in, focusing on balance, sustainability, and making sure your body is getting what it needs for the long haul. So let's keep going and tie it all together.
Yes. The next one that I commonly see is intermittent fasting. Now, for this one, I still will do this, and I do sometimes, depends on the client, will still put this into a variety of the programs that I may go through or have people to practice when they come and work with me. But intermittent fasting, it limits your eating to specific time windows. And, for some women, it can work. It can definitely work. But for others, especially sometimes after 40, it may increase your stress hormones, disrupt your sleep, or lead to undereating. But it just depends on the person. And so, working with someone such as a holistic nutrition weight loss coach, such as myself, or your provider, your healthcare provider, intermittent fasting can still be ideal, but you do have to be careful because some people will take it to the extreme and you can cause more harm than good. So, when you're doing this, always be under the guidance of someone that can direct you and just make sure that you're keeping your body in in play, in task, on the right route.
Absolutely. And that's such a balanced way to look at intermittent fasting. It can definitely have its place, and it can be a useful tool, especially when it's done thoughtfully and with some guidance. Like you said, it's all about making sure it's not taken to an extreme and that it actually fits your body's needs, especially after 40. And that's really the heart of the fresh start approach, finding what works for you and making it sustainable. So intermittent fasting can be part of that, but it's all about doing it in a way that supports your whole health. Let's keep that conversation going.
Yes. The next one that we need to make sure that we talk about, because a lot of people will be doing this as well, and it's detoxes and cleanses. Detoxes and cleanses are great, but they do have their place and they do have their time frame because not a lot of times you want to do these long term. They can definitely jumpstart things for you, but you want to make sure that you do not continue the process for a long term because detoxes and cleanses, their promise is to reset your body through restriction, but in reality, our bodies are already, have that natural detox capability. And these plans can usually lead to temporary weight loss that returns very quickly because you can bring down the calorie, the energy intake so quickly. And then when you bring it back up or you start to eat again, boom, here comes all that weight plus some again.
Absolutely, you're spot on. Detoxes and cleanses can seem really appealing because they come as that quick reset. But like you said, our bodies already have built-in ways to detox naturally. When we rely on those super restrictive cleanses, it's often just a temporary fix that can lead to quick weight loss, but also quick regain once you're normally again. And that's why it's so important to think about long-term sustainability rather than just a quick fix. So the fresh start approach really focuses on supporting your body's natural processes and building habits that you can actually maintain. Let's keep that conversation going and tie it all together.
Okay. The last one I want to talk about, which I'm guilty of this one as well back in the day. I used to do this all the time, and I think that's what has hurt me as I've become a woman over my 40s and now into my 50s. Is a very low calorie diet. I actually did the 8 CG doing the shots, taking those hormone shots, back way back, oh my goodness, I guess that was maybe I know it was over 15, 20 years ago, and, you do these, hormone injections, HCG shots, and reduced my diet to, what was the, practitioner at that time, I think was like a 500-calorie diet, which was horrible. Oh my gosh, I think about it now and I'm like, "Oh, no wonder my metabolism is all out of order." But, the very low-calorie diets, extreme calorie restriction often produces, they produced fast results because I did lose weight, but it also signals the body to conserve the energy, slowed my metabolism down. It will slow your metabolism down, and it will break down muscle, which increases the likelihood of weight regain. And boy, did I regain the weight. It's like soon as I stopped getting those HCG shots, I was back up again in clothes and scrubs and jeans fitting all tight again, and I was, horrible, and of course, it led into another big spiral, and I just went out of control again.
Absolutely. And thank you for sharing that because that's such a powerful example. Very low calorie diets, like you said, can definitely lead to quick results, but they come at a cost. And that cost is often your metabolism, your muscle mass, or just your overall sense of well being. And like you experience once you stop, the weight often comes back and it can lead to that cycle of frustration. And that's exactly where we want to focus on more sustainable, balanced approaches like the Fresh Start method. We're not putting your body through those extremes. You're really working with your body to create something that you can maintain for the long haul. So thank you for sharing that. And let's keep building on that idea.
Yes, okay. I think that was probably the most or, the biggest diets that are out in the communities now. So let's, I guess, kind of shift to now about, why these diets, they seem to work at first, but then they just kind of stop and the weight often comes back. And I think that's what, hurts a lot of us as far as our mindset about dieting and, oh, here I go again kind of mentality.
Absolutely. And that's such a common experience for so many people. Those diets can give you that initial hope because you see some quick results. And then when the weight comes back, it can feel really discouraging. And that's exactly why it's so important to shift the mindset from these quick fixes to something that's more sustainable. With the Fresh Start approach, we really focus on building habits that support your body over time. So you're not stuck in that cycle starting over every January. Let's dive into how we can do that and make this year different.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we talk about that biology, because it's really just biology. Why the yo-yo dieting happens? It's really not you failing. It's just what's going to happen, because that restriction puts the body into survival mode, And, not many people realize that. I think it's getting more common now that, people are saying, survivor mode, restriction is not good. But we just want to make sure that we stress that because, after 40, severe dieting can increase, stress. It can make those stress hormones activate. It slows our metabolism. It accelerates our muscle loss. And muscle is critical for blood sugar control, metabolic health. So when it's lost, weight regain becomes so much easier. And it's not about willpower. That's not the issue here. It's actual physiology and biology. And women internalize the blame instead of questioning the method and knowing that this is just science. This is how it's going to be. But we so often put the blame on ourselves and think that we're failing, think that we're not good, but it's just biology, and so that's why we have to attack it or approach weight loss at a different angle with a different method.
Absolutely, and you're so right. It really is all about understanding that this is just how our bodies respond to those extremes. It's not a personal failure, it's just biology doing what it does. And once we understand that, it's a lot easier to shift our approach and choose methods that are actually supportive and sustainable. So that's what the Fresh Start is all about. Working with your body, not against it, and creating habits that actually last. So let's dive into how we can do that and make this whole new kind of year.
Yes, and this is where the fresh start approach comes into play. And I would definitely like to show you how to reframe things and how these diets, what they're trying to do and what Fresh Start can actually do for you. So we'll just kind of do a comparison of, the few diets that we did address here and give you the fresh approach on it.
Absolutely, let's do that. This is the perfect time to really show how the Fresh Start approach reframes things. Instead of focusing on restriction, we're focusing on balance and sustainability. So for each of those diets we talked about, whether it's keto, carnivore, intermittent fasting, and those detoxes, we can now look at how Fresh Start approach offers a more supportive alternative. It's all about working with your body, not against it, and really creating a lifestyle that you can maintain for the long run. So let's jump into those comparisons and show how Fresh Start can really make a difference.
Okay. The first one we talked about was keto. So, keto focuses on cutting those carbs aggressively. But when we take it to a fresh start approach, we can focus on food freedom and the foundations. And that's where you learn how to include your carbohydrates in ways that support your hormones, your energy, and it keeps you consistent.
Exactly, and that's such a great way to reframe it. Instead of cutting out carbs completely, the Fresh Start approach helps you find a way to enjoy them in a balanced, thoughtful way that actually supports your overall health. And that's the heart of it, making these changes in a way that's sustainable and fits into your life. So let's do the same for the other guides and show how Fresh Start really offers that balanced alternative.
With carnivore, you focus on that elimination of your plant foods. But with Fresh Start, it focuses on balancing your plate that supports your gut health. And you get your fiber intake and long term sustainability. So, something you can do all the time and you don't eliminate those important food groups.
Absolutely, that's a perfect contrast. Instead of eliminating those plant foods like carnivore does, the Fresh Start approach is really about building that balanced plate that includes all those nutrients your body needs. So you're getting the fiber, you're supporting your gut health, and you're doing something that you can stick with long term. It's really about that sustainability. And we can do the same thing for each of these diets, showing how Fresh Start gives you a way to work with your body instead of against it. Let's keep going.
Okay, so with intermittent fasting, fasting focuses on timing, in which we still will probably include this in some of our plans that we talk with our clients. And so with the Fresh Start, we'll focus more on nourishment quality. So your blood sugar, your metabolism, and your strength and your stress stays supported.
Exactly. And that's a great way to frame it. So while intermittent fasting can be a useful tool for some, the Fresh Start approach makes sure that the quality of what you're eating is the real focus. That way you're not just thinking about when to eat, but also how to nourish your body in a way that supports your blood sugar, your metabolism, and keeps your stress levels in check. It's all about that balance and making sure that what you're doing is sustainable and feels good for you. So let's keep going and do the comparison with the other diets.
With detoxes, detoxes focuses on temporary restriction, but with our fresh start approach, it will focus on daily habits that support the body's natural detox systems without extremes and not put you into a state where you'll actually be working against what your natural body has already in place.
Exactly. You got it. Instead of those short-term restrictions, the first shot approach is all about building daily habits and actually support your body's detox processes. So you're not pushing your body into extremes or fighting it in those natural rhythms. You're actually working within a way that feels sustainable and supportive. And that's really the heart of what we're doing with the first shot approach, creating a lifestyle that you can maintain and that truly works with your body. Let's keep that momentum going.
Yes, and our very last one that we talked about on this podcast is the very low calorie diets. Eating less is the focus of a low calorie diet. But with the fresh start focus and approach, eating enough of the right things to protect your muscle and your metabolism becomes the most important factor during this plan or this approach.
Absolutely. And that's such an important distinction. With the fresh start approach, it's not about just eating less. It's about eating enough of the right things so that you protect your muscle, support your metabolism, and keep your body in a healthy balance. It's really about nourishment rather than restriction. And that's the core what makes it sustainable because you're not depriving yourself. You're actually fueling yourself in a way that supports long-term wellness. So that's the beauty of the fresh start approach. And it's a great way to help people move away from those extreme diets and into something that really works for them. Thanks for diving into all these comparisons.
Yes. And I just wanted to, let's just round it off with, we went through what, some of the Fresh Start is about, but the Fresh, it actually is an acronym and it stands for Food Freedom and Foundations, Rewiring Your Mindset. Letter E is about elevating your habits. Then we simplify the environment in letter S, and letter H is honoring your whole health. It's not about doing more, it's about doing what actually matters for women, women over 40. This approach, supports your hormones, protects your muscle, reduces your stress, and it fits into a real lifestyle.
Absolutely. And that sums it up perfectly. The Fresh framework is all about those core principles: food freedom, mindset, habits, environment, and whole health. It's really designed to support women in a way that works with their bodies and their lives. So it's not about piling on more restrictions or doing more extreme things. It's about doing what actually matters and what's going to make a real difference. And that's the beauty of it. It's a real lifestyle that you can maintain. So thanks for diving into all this, and I hope it helps everyone start the new year on a more sustainable cut.
Yes, I hope it will too. And, to further bring it home, my main message here is that I would want everyone or every woman to know that, she doesn't need another reset. She doesn't need to punish her body or start over again this January. She needs an approach that works with her body and not against it. This coming year or this new year, it doesn't have to be about restriction or fear of regaining the weight. It can be about building something that's lasting, that's sustainable.
Absolutely. And that's such a powerful message to close on. It's really all about letting women know that they don't have to keep restarting or punishing themselves every new year. Is that they can choose an approach that works with their body and helps them create lasting, sustainable change. It's about building something that supports their overall well-being rather than living in fear of regaining weight. So thank you for sharing that message, and here's to a year of truly sustainable health and wellness.
Yes, yes. Here's to a great year for the best health and best well being that you can obtain. And I would also like to close with just thanking everyone for spending this time with us today. I hope this message or this conversation helped somebody feel seen and encouraged or resonated and you felt like you were heard or and we're sending off a message that really helps you with sustainable weight loss after 40 and let you know that it is possible. We also want to remind you that weight loss is hard and you need a accountability partner and accountability place where you can come and get some help. And if you feel like this was a great message for you today, please, new episodes of Women Over 40 Losing Weight are released every Friday. So be sure to follow the show so you never miss an episode. And you can also learn more about my work and find me at amplehealthandwellness.com. And you can check out my book. A lot of what we talked about today is covered in my book, The Wait is Over. And you can find that located at amplehealthandwellness.com as well.
Absolutely, and that's a wonderful way to wrap it up. Here's to a fantastic year of health and well-being for everyone listening. Thank you all for joining us today, and remember, you're not alone in this journey. We're here to support you every step of the way. So be sure to follow the show for new episodes every Friday and check out amplehealthandwellness.com for more resources and to grab a copy of The Wait is Over if you'd like to dive deep. We can't wait to see the journey with you. Thanks again, and here's to a healthy and empowered year ahead.
Yes, thanks again. And until next time, I want you all to make sure you give yourself grace, take care of your health, and keep moving forward. Bye for now.
Absolutely well said. Give yourself grace, take care of your health, and just keep moving forward. Thanks again for being here with us. And until next time, take care and bye for now.
Bye.